Did you know that 34% of married people file for divorce between March and June of 2020?
We're bringing sexy back. We're bringing sexy back.
Let's get it started. Harder, won't you give it up? What you invited.
Hello, beautiful lady. Yes, I am talking to you. It is Thursday, and you know what goes down here on my YouTube channel on Thursday. Wife Life with Gail goes down here on YouTube. So do me a favor and hit that share button and make sure that everybody that you know is subscribing to my channel. Again, I am so excited that I get a chance to come to you guys every single Thursday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And tonight's topic just literally kind of breaks my heart, but it also brings me joy. Did you know that 34% of married people file for divorce between March and June of 2020? 34%. 31% said it was because of the pandemic and they could just not deal with their spouse any longer. And 22% had only been married 6 months or less. And I will tell you, you guys know me, I am on the mission to eradicate divorce. And so tonight I want to talk to you about, are you married to your soulmate? Because these statistics are off the charts. And if you're married to your soulmate, how in the world are you just throwing in the towel? Again, my name is Gail Crowder, and welcome to Wife Life with Gail. And I am so excited that you decided to join me tonight. And so tonight, I'm going to really talk to you about, are you married to your soulmate? And give you some tools and strategies for you to realize that the person that you said I do to, you cut a covenant with, and for you to just, people just to throw in a towel, I mean, it just breaks my heart. And so again, 34% of people have just thrown in the towel since March. And we have, I mean, that is just mind blowing to me. And I know I'm stuck and you're like, Gail, okay, move on. But 34% just between March, April, May, and June, and the year is just not over. This is just, like I said, is mind blowing to me, literally mind blowing to me. And so, with those marriages, of course, I didn't get a chance to interview all those people and figure out what happened. You know, was there stuff going on before the pandemic happened? Was there, infidelity? What was it to make them just say, I can't do it anymore? And then, what is really crazy, 22% out of those people were married less than 6 months. Oh my God. That, what was the real purpose that they even said I do? And I bet you that they had big elaborate weddings when they said I do. I can guarantee you they spent all that money, and probably 90% of them have not even paid half of the bills off from that particular wedding. And so tonight, are you married to your soulmate? The first question is, and the first thing you need to say is, why did I get married to my spouse in the very first reason? What was the reason that made me fall in love with them? What was the reason that I said I do? What was the reason that I spoke, I will spend the rest of my life with you till, death do us part, and in sickness and in health? What was the reason that I said that? If 34% can just throw in the towel just within 3 months of this year, I just can't imagine what's going to happen by December, right? So, how do you know that you're married to your soulmate? And I'm going to tell you, marriage has not been easy for me. Gil and I have been at this 32 years. And there was twice that we were going to throw in a towel and, call it quits and divorce. So I get it. I understand that marriage is hard. But what is it that makes somebody just say in 3 months, I'm just done? Because of a pandemic, because of what was going on in the household that just made them pull the trigger so quickly, right? So how important is the covenant? So how do you know if you're married to your soulmate? Number one, the conversation never ends. The conversation never ends. I can tell you that Gil and I, yes, we have arguments just like any other couple, but we have such great, rich conversations about things that we experienced in the past and things we want to experience in the future. That continues our conversation that's never ending. And it's like, when you see a good friend and you reminisce about things that happened years ago, it's like the conversation never ends. That's what should be happening with your spouse. So the first thing that needs to come into play is that the conversation is so rich that it never ends. That's the number one sign that you guys can communicate about absolutely anything, even when you're having a disagreement, because disagreements will come because you're human and he's human, right? But at the end of the day, you find a way to resolve that issue, and the conversation, the great conversation, the rich conversations never end. They just expand and keep going and ever changing and ever growing. That's when you know the first thing that you have married your soulmate. The second thing is when you have connected with the soul, right? When you have a soul connection, a soul tie, a spiritual connection, right? When you really feel that you can hear, think, and flow with your spouse like no one else can. And what I love about Gil and I, when we're truly connected, and sometimes you can feel that you're not, is when I lay on his chest, my heartbeat is beating at one speed, and his heartbeat is beating at one speed. But if we lay together long enough, our hearts become in rhythm, in sync, and we begin to beat on the same pace, right? And I just love that about how God connected us when we said, I do. We became one flesh. Even though, we operate in two separate bodies, but spiritually, the will of God is for us to operate as one flesh. And I just love it when my heart rhythm and his heart rhythm, we just get in sync. And sometimes I hate to take my head off of his chest because I know that I'm going to start beating alone. My rhythm is going to take back over. And if you've never experienced that rhythm with your spouse, I say try it, because it is a beautiful thing that God puts your heart rates in sync. And you can hear it. It is amazing. Number 3, you understand each other's flaws and faults. You understand them. You accept them. You cover them. And you can even benefit from them. Because nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. So you accept their flaws, their shortcomings. And as that person's spouse, you should cover them. And again, I just love the way God covers our flaws. And Gil covers mine, and I cover his. And we just It's just like a building block, so we don't have any holes. Did it take time to understand each other's flaws? Absolutely. But we had to figure out, how do we cover each other's flaws? For me, I am a spender. Gil is a saver. So he's better with money. I've talked about how I shopped us into $65,000 worth of unsecured debt years ago, and how he took over the finances and brought us out within 4 years because he's just better with money. And so now that, God is allowing me to build this empire, and I'm calling it an empire because I'm speaking it into existence. I allow him to handle my business finances because he's much better at it. But that's one of my flaws that he covers, right? Organization, I am organized to the hilt. Gil is not. So I cover that flaw. So with you and your spouse, are you covering each other's flaws? Or are you pointing them out? Because truth be told, his flaws are your flaws. Your flaws are his flaws, because you became one flesh when you said, I do. That's the reason why I'm questioning for this 34% of people that walked away just because of the pandemic. Was that truly your soulmate? And 22% of these people walked away and they wasn't even married 6 months. So, do you cover each other's flaws? And you also understand where those flaws and shortcomings come from. They could come from childhood, upbringing, right? It could come from a lack of information and education. It could come from so many different things. And when you see that your spouse is struggling, ask them, why are you struggling and how can I assist you? Because remember, you're in this to win it. That's my prayer. That's why I started doing this work, to help eradicate divorce, right? Number 4, you share the same life goals. And they're never changing life goals. Not saying that you won't change and grow, not saying that he won't change or grow, but the core values that you talked about when you were dating are the same values that will be able to carry you through this life journey. And those core values are, how many children do you want, right? And some couples say, I want 5 kids, and figure out in the midst of it, they can't conceive the way that most people can conceive. But there's still adoption, there's still in vitro, there's still other things that can help you accomplish that goal if that's something you set out as a couple. When it comes to children, how do you raise them? How do you nurture those things? Those are the things that you talk about, right? And those are life goals. Building a family. Spiritual. Are you guys on the same spiritual path? Do you believe in the same things? And if not, how do you mitigate those things? Because those things are important. And family values. What are your family values? What are the core values that you want to instill in each other, your children, and your children's children? What legacy do you want to leave? Yes, you will both grow, education wise and professionally and all those kind of things. But those core values that you started with should not shift. They should only grow, expand, and get stronger. Different perspectives absolutely will happen. Different ways of viewing things will absolutely happen. But those core values and those life goals that you guys set should always be the line that you toe. And number 5, if you could go back and fall in love with him over and over and over again, despite any of the flaws, any of the shortcomings, any of the bad things that have happened in your marriage when it comes to finances and illnesses and infidelities and whatever that is, loss of jobs, all these different kind of things. If your heart still skips a beat whenever he walks in that room, even when you're mad, even when he's not looking his best, even when he went from a 6-pack to a 2-liter, right? That is when you know that you're married to your soulmate. That is when you know that you can stand up and beat these statistics and go against the odds and say, give me one more round. Give me one more round. Give me one more shot. I got it in me. Because again, today when I woke up and I entered my group of marriage experts and I seen these statistics, it literally broke my heart. And I'm like, oh my God, people are just throwing in the towel because society has made this easy. Society has said it's okay. You can start over. But I am telling you to roll up your sleeves and say, no, 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 no. Give me one more round. This is my soulmate. This is who God has ordained to be till death do us part. And every time that Gil and I was ready to throw in the towel, which it has been twice in 32 years, like papers drawn up, we said, was that the will of God? Can we go back? Can we still have great conversations, Gail? Right? Are we connected at the soul? Can I find anybody to cover my faults the way you cover them? Right? Do we still have the same life goals that we set? And can I find that with someone else? And when I look at you, no matter how much you have hurt me, and it was hurt on both sides, will I still say, I love you, and let's give this one more chance? And the answer was always yes. Even when we thought that, the grass was greener on the other side, because we both tried the other side. But we realized it really wasn't. We needed to start watering and attending to the grass that we already had, to keep those conversations going, to keep those smiles going, to keep the intimacy going. So I challenge you to look at your spouse and look at them differently and implement these things that I talked about and test them and make your spouse your soulmate. Because you did not get married by mistake, because God doesn't make mistakes, and his covenant is not a mistake. It's still alive and well today. So I want to challenge you. Put some things in place. Your marriage is never going to be perfect because you're two imperfect people. Your marriage is not going to not ever struggle. I'm not going to tell you that. But just know that trouble does not last always. So I'm super excited that you decided to join me tonight. And just know that I'm here every single Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you to pieces, and I will see you next Thursday here on Wife Life with Gail. Have an amazing, amazing night.
We're bringing sexy back. We're bringing sexy back.
Let's get it started.